Hey everybody, I'm Tim.
And I'm Dean.
And we're the hosts of Talking Back. We're a retro-based podcast covering movies, comics, video games, and more.
Check us out every Monday where we hit the rewind button and dig into some of our favorite content from the past. We like to keep things fun, lighthearted, and informative.
Do you feel like you need more nostalgia in your life? Then check out Talking Back. We're available everywhere podcasts are found.
The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hey, welcome back to Action. I'm James, and this is Dustin.
Hey.
And we are the only podcast, don't look it up, the only podcast that watches all the action movies, and we put them on a list, which is at 250-ish so far. And you know what? We're also part of the BFOP network, so you should check out their other shows, such as Comics Underground, Return, Revenge, Resurrection, People Don't Forget, Cartwright, Throwback Trivia Takedown, Talking Back, Podcasting After Dark.
Turns out there's a lot of shows going on. Yeah, I got to check out that comic book one.
And then Blast from Our Past, if they're still around, which I think they are.
I don't know. I think they retired.
Maybe.
I'm confused.
But you should check them out. And yeah, so this week we got a double feature. We got Tiger Cage 1 and 2.
Pow.
Double the fun. But before we get to that, why don't we do a little seek and destroy? Dustin, you want to take this one?
I've only got a few things because we're you know, a little behind the scenes here. We're recording twice in 1 week here, and so I used most of my stuff up for the last episode. But yeah, there's a few I can mention here. I watched that new Kenneth Branagh Agatha Christie flick, A Haunting in Venice.
Oh yeah,
it's the third one now.
Right.
And actually, I think I like this one the most out of all these. I've seen each one. I've been a little iffy on them. Like, they're okay. They're you know, they're either very watchable. They're pretty people with pretty locations and stuff. But I'm not sold on Branagh as the Poirot character just because I'm used to the BBC version, who looks and acts exactly like he does in the books. But this one kind of worked for me, maybe because it's even more of a departure. It's like it combines two different Agatha Christie books together to make one story here. And so because of that, it almost worked better for me, because it was like, okay, they're not even like trying to do an exact adaptation here of one of these books. They're just kind of amalgamating these ones. But yeah, it was a fun movie. It's a little bit more spooky, kind of is there really ghosts here or not in this building that they're hanging out in?
Right.
Bring in Poirot to kind of disprove this psychic and all this kind of stuff.
That sounds like fun.
Is it supernatural? Is there something else going on? What's happening? You know, and of course people get murdered and stuff, and he's just got to figure it out. But yeah, I had fun with that. Easily my favorite of those three that they've done so far.
Nice. It's kind of like Sherlock Holmes, you know, the movies with what's his name?
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr.
I kind of like those. I
mean, they're fun. They're nothing. They're nothing like the actual stories.
No, but I understand that, and they're like
Pirates of the Caribbean applied to Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, and to me, they're kind of fun, mindless movies,
right? Adventure, romps kind of thing. Are they doing another one of those? There's a talk for a long time.
There was talk that they were going to do another one, but I haven't heard anything
in a while. I watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Okay.
You know, we lost Paul Rubens last year, passed away. Pee-wee was a big deal for me as a kid. I used to watch his show every Saturday morning. Pee-wee's Playhouse, loved that.
Never seen the show.
Never seen it? It's just wacky, man.
No.
It's just pure 80s insanity. Have you seen the movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
No.
Tim Burton's first full-length movie that he directed.
Really?
Yeah. I fucking love this movie. It holds up. I watch it every handful of years or so. And with him having just passed away recently, I was like, I gotta go back and watch it again. And it's fucking hilarious, man. Like, It's got a really funny shit in it. I mean, a part of that is you've got to kind of, if you don't like the Pee-wee character at all, you're not going to probably enjoy it. But there's just such dumb humor in it. It's got Burton's like weird stuff, but this is before he like went way over the top and got really gothy with all of it and stuff. So it's got lots of weird visuals and items and stuff like that. And, you know, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a fun movie. It's so dumb. The part they get to the end and then like they end up making a movie about the adventure that Pee-wee had gone on. So like there's like they get James Brolin to play Pee-wee. So he's like this like sexy debonair man, but he's wearing like the Pee-wee Herman suit.
Right. Right.
It's just funny, stupid shit like that. No, I'd recommend you check that movie out at some point. It's a ton of fun.
Now, do you have to watch the show or know the show?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. And in fact, I think the movie preceded the show. I can't remember. Don't hold me to that, but I think the movie came out before there even was a regular show. Because this was like a character he had developed as part of like a comedy group, like a Groundlings type thing. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, he would perform this live as this character and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll mention, I watched your favorite, James, and I'm just getting started here. Every winter, or almost every winter anyway, I watched the Lord of the Rings Extended Editions trilogy. I watched the first one.
Yeah.
For the 18th time. You're like, yeah.
So,
like, no. Hey, you just better be thankful I don't make you do it on the show sometime.
right. Well, you know, this week, so I've been off work this week, so... You know, I'm just trying to like figure out what to do. And, you know, even like during like the week between Christmas and New Year's, it's kind of like
so the dead zone.
I was like searching for something to watch. And I get why people watch something like Lord of the Rings. One, it kills like 10 hours. Two, it's just it's a journey adventure movie. So
yeah, it's a big quest.
Yeah, it's a big quest, which... Oddly enough, that was something I was searching for in between that time. Because it's just like, I want a good, like, you know, quest movie, right? Yeah. Didn't watch it. But I can start to understand now why.
Yeah, I mean, part of it for me is like, I'm a fantasy nerd from way back. Because
you're a loser?
I mean, we're sitting in my house and there's, to our right is a shelf, or my right is a shelf full of nerdy fantasy books.
Ugh.
And winter, for some reason, is like the time when I get really in the mood for that kind of story.
And I'm not disgusted by the fantasy. I'm disgusted by the books.
Right. Reading.
Ugh. Loser.
That bullshit. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to definitely be watching the second and third in the next week or so.
I mean, how many... You watched the extended?
Extended. It's a sin. It's a sin to watch the non-extended. Okay. I can't even tell you that. I think the last time I saw the non-extended was in the movie theater.
Okay, so how much is added on to the extended?
Like maybe half an hour each movie, something like that.
And it really brings the story home.
Well, they're huge, sprawling stories, right? So there's a lot of detail that still aren't in the movies. And it just makes it all more filled in. Even in the first movie, the stuff that's in there, I'm like, how did they take this out of there? You need this.
Right.
Gotta have it.
And how long is the extended?
First one's about 3.5 hours.
Fuck me.
Yeah. James, I got to tell you, during the final battle sequence in that first movie, still get goosebumps.
Really?
The score, holy shit, comes up. Legolas is just taking down orcs with so many arrows. Oh my God. Okay.
I mean, I can't even tell you what happens in them. But cool.
That didn't sound condescending at all.
No, I'm glad you found something to spend your time with.
What did you watch?
Like you, this is a quick turnaround because we also recorded another episode this week. So didn't get up to much, but I actually been watching a series with my kids. We started the 2017 A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize there was 3 seasons of this.
I didn't even know there was a show. I remember the Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah, so this one's with Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I do remember that now.
Right. So I like it visually. I like it. The story, it's entertaining. My kids really like it. my oldest even is like, whoever plays Olaf is like amazing actor.
Is that Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doogie.
Yeah. So impressive, fun. There's lots of humor in it as well. I think we're like 4 or 5 episodes in. So we're enjoying that.
Oh yeah. And so you got a lot to watch. Yeah.
A lot to go. I'm kind of like thinking maybe they can just continue on watching it. Like they don't have to wait for us, because we've been watching it together.
Right.
Which can kind of get a little
hard to get the time for everyone to. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's another show actually we just kind of started yesterday. It's a show that actually John recommended because he's watching it with his kids, which is Percy Jackson.
Oh yeah,
and the Olympians.
Another series of kids books. Yeah.
So it's another TV series. I think it's on Disney, and I think there's only 4 episodes out right now.
Okay, just started.
So it just started. So I kind of said, like, why don't we start this one? Because then, it comes 1 episode every week. So then we can be caught up with that and then fill in the gaps with with the other show.
Yeah, I think they did a movie of that one too, like in the 2000s at some point, right?
Yeah.
It was when, after Harry Potter, they were always like, they were trying to find the next, what was the other kid, what's another popular kids kind of fantasy type thing that we can turn into a franchise or whatever.
You're not asking me because I don't know any.
No, I'm just saying. And they did that. They had Percy Jackson, and there was a series of Unfortunate Events movie, and I think what was the other one? Spiderwick Chronicles. There's all these
right.
kind of.
Yep. So we'll see how this one goes. We watched 1 episode yesterday, so
nice.
So far so good. It's kind of an adventure movie, right?
Yeah.
So, or show, and that's about it.
All right. Well,
so
let's get into the meat.
So why don't we get into 1988 and 1990s Tiger Cage 1 and Tiger Cage 2.
Holy shit.
Let's maybe forego the trailer, as there probably is no trailer.
Let's throw a little Tim in here for me.
All right, so I don't know how you want to tackle this because we're tackling 2 movies.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should try. We'll try our best to take on each at a time. Like start with the first one, and
all right,
it's going to be. I think some of it in our brains, some of it'll bleed together a little bit, but
yeah. Okay, so Tiger Cage. So this is 1988. A team of cops get brutally exposed to violence after raiding a drug operation and discovering a link between few members of the police force and an American crime syndicate dealing with drug trafficking.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, yeah. So this has, kind of the usual suspects, I would think, with...
Yeah, I mean, because some of these actors are other movies we've done for sure. Jackie Chung and Simon Yam. Donnie Yen, of course, is in this, although he's a side character in this one.
Yeah, which I was surprised. I thought he was like the lead in this, but...
Well, he's the lead in the second one, which we'll get to. But yeah, he's more of just a supporting character in this one. So young. Such a baby face here.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But man, this movie has a great fucking opening. We get the drug deal going down. They're testing the drugs. They put the little liquid in there. Does it turn the right color? All that shit. And then the cops show up. It's like a raid. Turns out the one guy trying to buy the drugs is one of the cops. And yeah, just like crazy shootout and like foot chase that breaks out here.
The thing I love about Hong Kong action movies is they fucking go all out.
Yeah.
And I think it's this one, not the second one. Even though there's a little bit in the second one, but this one especially, they love putting people through glass.
Yeah.
Like every chance they get, there was somebody going through like a glass windshield, a window, like
there's
house,
even
something.
We get a drop kick through a windshield at one point into a guy driving a car. Yeah, and this stuff is really fun at the start. This one's pretty violent. I did think the first one was more violent than the second one. We get a lot of nice squibs here, guys getting blown away. Just the foot chase is really fun because they got the guys diving from the one roof over to like the platform where the train I think station is or whatever, and they're trying to like jump across, and they're all like shooting at each other and ducking behind shit, and you're getting a lot of that classic Hong Kong action feel here for sure.
Definitely.
The ricochets and whatnot and everything. The one drug dealer guy with the mustache that they're chasing here at the beginning, he seems like he's going to be like the main bad guy, but as the story develops, things go in some different directions. Because at the beginning, that's who they're chasing. That's who the focus is on. He shoots several of the cops during this getaway, and then at the end, they finally kind of think that they shot him and got him, and he like falls and he bounces off that fucking roof of that thing and then into the water.
I rewound that.
It looks so good.
Because you get the sound too, the dong.
Yeah, the doink.
It was so good.
That looked great. I don't think that was a dummy. I think that was a stunt guy, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a stunt guy.
Because there is a couple scenes where you see somebody drop, and it's obviously a dummy.
They kind of like float. The dummy floats down
a little bit, drifts down, like a leaf. This one is like this guy. It looked pretty real. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a dude. And he takes a header in the water. He gets away. They're after him, but he comes back. The one guy is retiring. He's getting married to this woman cop.
Yep.
And he shows up to get revenge because that was the guy that was in charge of this raid, and he blasts him with that shotgun, and it's pretty fucking gory. You get a nice,
it's pretty gory.
Nice big blood spray there from that. The wife is running out in her wedding dress in slow motion, of course, and all that. And so we're like, wow, okay, this guy's our fucking bad guy in this. And then we start to get into some other stuff where, one of these cops might be dirty. One of the cops that's part of this squad of guys, along with Jackie Chung and Donnie Yen, and Carol Chang here.
Yeah.
They're kind of our three mains. And then, they're reporting to their boss, Simon Yam, who's Inspector Michael Wong. Man, Simon Yam just is cool. He just looks fucking cool. And of course, we've seen him in a few movies now. Full Contact, he was the villain.
Yeah.
And he was like the cool guy that helped them out and Bullet in the Head and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we've had him on here a few times now. He's always fun. He's their boss, and then he's trying to tell them he lets Carol back on the case even though her fiance was just murdered and stuff, and you're like, okay, weird. And then Jackie Chung ends up getting some videotape of this guy Cookie.
Yeah, Cookie.
Yeah, dropping off drugs for these bad guys.
Yeah.
And so he tells his boss, oh yeah, we've got this footage, and he's like, don't show it to anyone, bring it to me. We don't want to start some kind of scandal, whatever. And then before he can do that, Donnie Yen is in his car and sees the video and he watches it, and then he knows too, and he's got to convince him don't say anything, be chill, because they're like, oh, you're such a hothead. Donnie Yen's character is supposed to be impulsive or something.
Well, the funny thing is and maybe it's, I don't know, these Hong Kong movies are kind of weird when it comes to relationship stuff. So Donnie Yen's oh, you got to go see your girl. Here, I got flowers and chocolates and all these things for your girl.
Yeah.
What are buddies for but to help you out?
But to pick up the flowers for your girlfriend.
Pick up everything, remind you that it's her birthday, and bring you to her.
Make sure you don't fuck this up, bud.
Which is funny, which I guess is a way to get him to then be in the car with the camera.
That'd be so weird if I showed up and I was like, James, I got some flowers for you to give to Janine.
Yeah.
I don't want you to fuck this up, man. You got a good thing going here.
It would be odd. I mean, I'd be like, you're a hell of a friend, but it's kind of...
Thanks.
Thanks? What's happening? It's just kind of funny. But yeah, so he sees on the video camera this tape that he got of Cookie doing this drug deal, and he's like pissed. He's ready to go.
Yeah, he wants to go bust Cookie right now because Cookie is his partner within the squad.
Yeah.
And Jackie's like, "Oh, I didn't show it to you because I didn't know if maybe you were dirty too. You're his partner." Like, and he's like so pissed. He's like, "What? You think I'm dirty too?" Blah blah.
Yeah.
And then can't remember what Jackie's off doing something else, and Donnie Yen ends up going to like follow Cookie, and he tapes him. He's with these two like heavies. There's like this black guy and this other dude.
These guys are awesome.
Yeah. And of course Donnie Yen can't he has no chill, so he confronts Cookie.
Yeah, this is on the dock.
He's trying to bust them
beach.
all three of them by himself. Yeah, they're on that dock. And he's getting them he's like, handcuff them to that car hood because there's like these little things or whatever. And and then he's confronting Cookie and telling him, "No, man, I can't let you go. I have to arrest you."
But he calls his superior first.
Yeah, he's like, "I've got them here, and
I'm going to bust them."
Saw them do this. And he gets in the black guy busts off of the car, which is pretty cool. And then they have a pretty sweet hand-to-hand fight there.
Yeah, on the sand.
Yeah, so Donnie Yen does get to show off some of his stuff here, even though he's not our main character. He gets to have some action moments.
It's a nice sequence, and then the other guy busts off the vehicle, and then he has like part of the vehicle that extends, but has like a spear point.
Yeah,
and they do this cool thing where he like goes to stab him, but it just misses, but goes through the shirt.
Yeah.
In front
I feel like I've seen this in a Jackie Chan movie at some point too.
I mean, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
and then so the inspector or his boss shows up and he's like, "Look, see, I got Cookie, I caught him red-handed." And he's like, "Okay, well, put the handcuffs on him." And this is where you get the ultimate betrayal. You get a sweet, his boss, his superior, shoots him in the head.
Yeah, shoots him in the back of the head, and
then he turns around.
A bunch of blood goes onto Cookie's face. Yeah, he turns around and starts walking back towards him. It was actually pretty gross.
It was awesome.
You see the blood leaking down the front. It was cool. It was good.
It was cool.
But I was like, oh, this is actually pretty brutal.
And Donnie Yen's such a badass.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm still gonna fight you, even though you just blew my brains out." Then they just shoot him down. Oh, and of course, we didn't even mention Donnie Yen, John Wick Chapter 4 that we covered last year. He's the blind guy.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's so great. Always a pleasure to watch a movie with him. But here he's taken away from us pretty early on, or at least halfway through or so.
That's why I was surprised to see him in the second one.
Yeah, because it's not the same characters. And the second movie has nothing to do with this first movie.
This is what I love about Hong Kong movies. It's like we got the name recognition with the title.
People will come see this. We'll just do another type of cop, whatever crime action film, and it doesn't matter. It's not about the continuation of that story. But so now we know Simon Yam is bad. He's so good at being a bad guy.
He's so good.
He's just like, "Oh, you scumbag." And of course, Carol is trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. Jackie is okay. He's accusing Cookie. He's got the video. He brings the video into the office. They swap it. Michael swaps it when he's not looking and tells her to go put it in evidence or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's accusing Cookie. They're like, "Let's look in his locker, blah, blah, all this stuff." And like, "You've got no evidence, man." And of course they open his locker and there's no drugs there, even though he had seen him put the heroin in there before. Obviously they moved it.
Yeah.
And now it's in his locker and he's being accused.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he made a copy, which is at his girlfriend's.
Right. At his girlfriend's house. The girlfriend that gets really mad at him because he has to take off because there's a crime at one point. There's not a whole lot there with that relationship, which is fine. I don't need that in this
No,
kind of movie.
You do get this weird where he ties himself up in a bow and tries to be cute.
Right. We got to have some nice moments, which we'll see in a bit of a flashback later. But yeah, there's not a lot there, but whatever, it's fine. And so now Carol thinks he's in on it. Carol Cheng's character. Mm-hmm. Sorry, what is her name in the movie? Shirley. She thinks he's in on it, and she's interrogating him, and he's being super sarcastic with her. And stuff.
And he's like, I did it. I confess.
Fine, I did it. I confess. Yeah, it was me. Write it down.
And she's like, damn it. Don't give me that.
They send Cookie goes over to get the videotape, and she like sees him through the door, the spy hole, and she like takes off and like she hides the tape.
Yeah, no, she hides on the balcony.
That's right. Yeah. And he's like, oh, there's nothing here, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, later they send over that same dude to kill her, the black guy from the fight on the dock.
Yeah, well, what happens is the inspector, who's the inspector? Is that Simon Yang?
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael Wong, his name is in this movie.
So Michael Wong, and then who's the, like, her boyfriend?
Which one? Sorry. Yeah. Amy is the girlfriend of Jackie Chung's character.
Okay, yeah. Simon Yam and Jackie Chung go over.
Yeah, right. They're like going to get the video.
Because he's like, well, did you make a copy? Yeah, it's at her house, Amy's house.
He's like, okay, I'll take you out of custody.
Yeah.
We'll go over there. We'll get the tape.
Because I'm on your
like
side.
He's the good guy,
yeah,
right?
because I'm on your side and I want to bust these, corrupt cops. And then, of course, she opens the door and then she's like, I need to tell you, like, what I saw. And then all of a sudden, Simon Yang, like, pops out from around the corner and she's like, oh, no, never mind.
Yeah, there's nothing. I didn't see anything.
I don't know anything.
But then, whatever, he's like, I need the tape because otherwise they're going to put me back in jail. So she's like, oh, okay, it's here or whatever. And, but she's like, for some reason, she's very distrustful immediately of Michael Wong, although she doesn't really have a reason to be.
She doesn't really have a reason.
Just an instinct, I guess. Women's intuition, something like that.
So as soon as they leave, she makes the call to Shirley.
Yeah.
To say,
he's in on it.
He's in on it. Like, you got to come over here. And then, of course, when Simon Yang gets downstairs, he gets in the car and then he
he slams his head into the fucking head, like into the front of the car, the dash and the window and stuff.
And then calls those two American guys.
Yeah, go over there and get her, take her out. But Cookie shows up and he actually helps fight them off. Who's in that fight? It's just her and him? No. Jackie Chung gets away. He gets away from Simon Yam. He's pulls the car. He wakes up.
Oh yeah, he jumps out.
Jumps out of the car and rolls. And there's that cool sequence where he's shooting at him. He's hiding behind that little barrel, and he jumps over the overpass and stuff and gets away. All the action stuff, and we haven't really been talking about all the set pieces, but there's a bunch sprinkled throughout the film, and they're all awesome. They're all really good. There's the one where they're going to arrest the mustache bad guy, and we didn't really talk about that. How Cookie sets that guy up so that he gets assassinated by the cops in that scene.
Yeah.
There's a fun action sequence there before they arrest him where he's almost going to get away again. Mm-hmm. There's a moment where I think Jackie Chung is he's over top on a roof of a boat, looking down at these guys about to shoot. And so then he reaches down and takes the guy's gun and rolls over and stuff. There's just always creative ways that they choreograph all this stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the director of this movie is Yuen Wu-ping, who he directed many movies as well, but he's also kind of known for his fight choreography.
Oh, okay.
And he did the choreography in I think the Matrix movies and Kill Bill and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, sweet.
But also all these older Hong Kong action films.
Well, and so the thing about these Hong Kong action movies and this time, they don't pull away when there's the fight scenes. So even when the kicks and the punches don't necessarily land where they should look,
they're not always perfect.
They're not perfect. You still are because they're so consistent with how they shoot it, you are okay to let it go.
You're quickly past that because you're onto the next.
Yeah, because you're onto the next thing. And it's part of the charm of it too, that it's just it's a dance, it's a choreography, it's part of the scene, and it's not quick cuts too.
Right. Yeah, quick cut in too close so you can't see what's really happening.
Yeah, it's you get to see the whole thing, you get to see the I can't imagine how long it takes to actually choreograph all this stuff.
Oh yeah, no, it must be insane.
Because it's all one shot too.
Yeah, and it's like, if you fuck it up, we're starting again, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you have to have these guys who are actually good at doing this stuff, right? Like your Donnie Yens. And Jackie Chung does some impressive stuff in this movie too. But yeah, so when we get back to him getting away from Simon Yam's character, doubles back to his girlfriend's apartment, and here that black guy is showing up and is trying to kill Cookie and her. And so they get in a big fight. It's pretty good. He's getting tossed around through tables and shit, through the glass tables, of course. I love that glass.
Love that.
And I love Cookie like comes through and he like shoulder blocks the dude into like right into the wall where there's like coat hooks, and the guy's head like goes in into one of the hooks, and like blood splatters all over the wall and stuff. I'm like, oh, nice. They took him out.
Now, is that at Cookie's house?
No, it's the girlfriend's apartment. They sent him over to kill her, and I can't remember why Cookie shows back up. I think I thought it was like they kill her, but then there's like a thing where they fight Cookie, and that's where he turns the gas on. You're right. I'm getting a little confused here because is the gas thing in this movie? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think it's.
Two of them are confusing me now.
I think that's Cookie's.
Is it meant to be Cookie's house? You're right, because they kill her, they throw her out the window, and she fucking lands on the car down below.
Yeah, exactly.
So he finds out about it, like he sees a news report or whatever.
Yeah.
After he's escaped. But yeah, that guy's sent. You're right. That guy is sent over to Cookie's house to assassinate Cookie because like Michael wants him out of the picture now too, like cleaning up all the loose ends kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's when Jackie goes over to Cookie's house to confront Cookie.
Yeah. And then he ends up saving him, and Cookie helps him.
And you have that it's very comical, the fight where he turns on the gas.
Yeah, they're breathing from the oxygen
and they're
tank.
Breathing from the scuba tank.
Yeah, the scuba tank. They keep taking turns to take a breath because the whole apartment is filled with gas, right? And he's got his face like held right up to where the gas is coming out and stuff. Yeah, fun stuff though. It's like a little comedic, but I definitely thought the second movie leans way more to comedy than this first one. This first one's mostly pretty serious.
Now, at what point does Shirley start to get wise? I think.
Well, she got the call, right?
She got the call,
so then she starts, I think, thinking about it more and looking at it more. And what happens with the videotape? Oh, he got a hold of it again. Does he get rid of it? He just trashes it or something?
Yeah, he trashes it. And then there's a point where Shirley says, "Oh, I have a copy." Mm-hmm. And then he's like...
She confronts him, and he's like, "You'll never prove anything, blah, blah, blah." So then she knows. And then they get... there's a drug deal going to go down, because we've seen a few scenes where Michael is, like, making deals with these other American drug guys.
Well, because it got to a point where the Americans are like, well, we had a deal, so you're either gonna... So now he's starting to get pressure from the Americans of like, you got to hold up your end of the bargain. Like, we've done enough for you. Mm-hmm. And then I think it gets to that final...
Yeah, and he goes to take them where the drugs are supposed to be in the back of a van or whatever, and he opens it up, and there's only just like one packet left sitting there, and they're like, "Are you trying to fuck us around?"
Yeah.
And of course, Jackie and Cookie are there, and they're like, "Oh, we got you, you scum, you motherfucker!" And he's like, "You don't have any evidence." And then they like open the trunk, and they have all the drugs in their car.
Right.
And then we get a pretty sweet fight scene that's going on two fronts there, where like the drug dealer guys are fighting with Jackie, and Michael is pursuing Cookie. There's an awesome moment there where Michael like kicks him into like, there's like a railing, and he's like goes between the two middle bars, and he's sitting there, and then he like drop kicks him like through. It's brutal first when he throws him into it, but he doesn't go through.
Yeah.
And then he drop kicks him like through the bars, and it looks awesome. He's chasing him like into a building and stuff, and beating on him. And then meanwhile, Jackie's trying to fight off both of the drug dealers. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there. Martial arts stuff, hand-to-hand stuff.
And then, of course, you have the woman assassin or henchman of the American.
Right. She got sent to kill Shirley.
Yeah. So then there's like this chase in the Jeep or something. Ends up into like, I don't know, a construction site or something. Yeah. Whatever. And
they're
then-
like fighting on top of those pipes, and they get into like she gets tossed in the barbed wire.
It's kind of funny. Like they climb on top of the pipes, they're fighting on the pipes, and then you get that awesome, which I believe it happens in the second one too. But you get this awesome thing where when somebody's hanging off of a building or something, they're hanging there, then the person comes over to kick them, to knock them, to make them fall. And then they do this thing where they have so much flexibility.
Yeah, they kick up. Yeah, and kick the person.
Which is like, I would never be able to do that in a lifetime. No,
I'm not even holding on.
I'm not even going to be holding on that long, right?
There's a part 2 at the beginning when they're chasing that mustache drug guy, and he like knocks the one guy over the overpass of the bridge, and he's like hanging on with one arm, but he manages to like unload and like reload his gun with one hand.
That is so sexy.
Yeah,
how he does
sweet.
that.
That was pretty great.
Yeah, he puts the gun in between the like.
Yeah, his like calf and his his calf and thigh, and there's like, ejects it and then puts a new clip in. And
so good.
Yeah. Then so when the guy leans over, he like takes a shot at him. Just really fun stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets thrown in the barbed wire on those tires, and then like she gets starting to get dragged, but then she manages to like wrap it around the woman's throat. And that was a good death. Yeah. At first when we got a glimpse of that woman, I was like, oh, is that fucking Cynthia Rothrock?
That's what I thought at first.
But then no, it's nobody. And she's not even the one who's doing like the fight sequences. It's obviously like a stunt guy in a wig or whatever. But so I'm not even sure. I wonder if there was more to do with that character, because she's like, you know how in every movie the bad guy has a few sort of henchmen that are recognizable, but she just only kind of gets to do that one scene. But it was a fun scene.
I do find it sometimes with Hong Kong movies, though. They have these awesome characters that you kind of see, and they only get like one scene.
Yeah, and I'm even thinking of Double Impact, the Van Damme movie, where there was all these cool henchmen, but it didn't really ever explain any of them. There was like the guy with the spurs,
right,
and then there was like, the long haired dude and the muscly woman and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, he's got all these, but there's no scenes to build them up in any way.
They just
really
look cool in the background.
They're just cool characters. Cool fighters. And so then how does the fight play out? Oh yeah, so he beats the living shit out of Cookie, right? And then all the cops show up, and he's like, tries to be like, oh, I'm the drug inspector, arrest these people, they're all involved in this.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it wasn't, it was you. He's like, shut up, bitch. And he like backhands her and stuff. There's a lot of people getting in these two movies getting called bitch and getting slapped around.
Oh yeah, the dubbing is pretty hilarious.
Oh yeah, we watched dub versions, which is too bad, because I feel like with these movies I'd rather watch subtitle for sure. Well, even though the subtitles are often like, not exactly accurate, but
the dubbing is like, it's definitely, there's points in the movie where it's like, okay, obviously whoever did the dubbing kind of took liberty with what was actually said, because I don't think they really talk this way.
Right.
So
of course.
it's like, oh, well, we're
make
dubbing
it more American.
Yeah, we're dubbing it for Americans, so we got to make it, you bitch, and this and that.
Yeah, exactly. Shut up, bitch. What are the hell you gonna say to the face?
Yeah. Slap.
And then the old cop, the boss, the commissioner, whatever he is, that we've seen in a few scenes through the movie. Michael kept going to him and being like, oh, I'll handle this. And he tells him again, he's like, oh, I'll handle this. You just go home. And he's like, we have enough evidence to arrest you, Michael. I'm like, they do? I thought he destroyed the videotape. But they're like, I guess because Cookie will turn evidence now. He's had a change of heart.
Yeah, he said he was going to testify.
He'll testify. Yeah, I guess.
I guess because he killed his partner.
Whatever Shirley has told him, I suppose. But so it all works out for the heroes. But it's a good fucking time. I had a really good time with this movie.
Yeah, it was very good.
I don't know if you want to do you want to rate this one now, or do you want to wait till the end and rate both of them?
No, we'll wait till the end.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Really killer action. I don't know if anything ever lived up to the opening set piece, because that was just so impressive, but there's tons of fun action in the movie.
Yeah. All right. So we got then Tiger Cage 2. So this is 2 years later.
Yeah.
An ex-cop and divorce lawyer team up with... Already that's hilarious.
Yeah.
An ex-cop and divorce lawyer team up with a gangster to clear their names after getting involved in a dirty money scheme led by a vicious money launderer who plans to expand his business and wipe out anyone who wants to stand in his way.
Yeah.
So, a little more convoluted.
Yeah, this one's a little more complex. Took me a little bit longer to be like, what the fuck's going on here? We got a couple returning actors from the first movie, although, like we said, they play different people in this.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen is back, but this time he's the main character, along with Rosamund Kwan playing Mandy. And then Carol Chang shows up, but like she gets murdered in like one of the first scenes she's in.
Yeah.
She gets stabbed to death. So I was like, why did they bring her back to do that? But she wasn't supposed to be the same person or anything either in this movie.
Maybe just name recognition.
Yeah, or to get fans of the first movie to be like, oh, okay, Donnie Yen and Carol Chang are both back in Tiger Cage 2. Let's go check that out.
Yeah.
And then we get Cynthia Khan in this as she's like a cop that's investigating everything that's going on, but she doesn't have a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
She would later go on to star in the Line of Duty 3, 4, and 5, which are the follow-ups to Royal Warriors and Yes, Madam.
Oh, okay.
So she's like the main character in those 3 movies afterwards. But we don't see a lot of her in this. She just kind of pokes her head in every once in a while. She does get a cool fight scene later.
Yeah. So basically what we got some lawyer at a firm. It has some kind of dealing with Americans because of international law, whatever. In Hong Kong, you can bring money in and then funnel it back to America without any legal issues whatsoever. The lawyer has some kind of deal with these Americans to launder this money. And what I gather is the lawyer decides to rob himself, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
But it goes wrong, and there's this whole sequence at the lawyer office in the elevator and whatnot.
Yeah, and once again, the movie starts out with a pretty great action set piece. First, we see Donnie Yen getting a divorce.
Yeah, he's an ex-cop.
And I don't know how things work there at that point, but it's apparently they just sit in front of this one woman who's just like, she's the lawyer. Mandy Chang in this movie.
Yeah.
She tells them like, okay, you're divorced now. Here's how the assets are split, kind of thing.
Well, she does say that the court has decided.
Right. She's just like administering the verdict or whatever.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen is like pissed off. He's like, oh, she's like, you don't even work. He's like, you wouldn't let me be a cop or whatever. Because if we know he was a cop right off
and
the
she's
bat.
repulsed, like the lawyer's repulsed by him.
Yeah, even more so shortly.
Yeah, after.
To a ridiculous level. So then there's this big action scene. Donnie Yen sees one of the guys trying to get away with the money. That's a cool moment. Those guys that try to assassinate them in the elevator.
Yeah.
And like they use their briefcases kind of like to block the bullets, sort of. Some of them get through, kind of. Mm-hmm. The one dude dives out of the elevator with his briefcase while they're shooting at him head on. I thought that looked pretty cool. And then one of them gets away kind of with the money. We're not sure what happened to the money, and that's kind of the whole question of the movie.
Yeah, like where's the money?
Where is it? And then Donnie Yen sees this happening, and he gets kind of involved, and he starts fighting the guys like as they're trying to escape in the parking garage and stuff. So there's some pretty sweet stuff there. Some shootout stuff. This movie I felt like leaned more towards the hand-to-hand stuff, like more kung fu in this movie than the first one.
Right.
A little less shootouts, a little less gunplay in this part.
Yeah.
Although there's a bunch of gun stuff towards the end too.
There is a lot more hand-to-hand, and even you get the so after all that happens, does he go? He goes to the lawyer's house? I can't remember.
Well, he's in the back of the ambulance with the lawyer because she was there and she got shot at.
She's like, I can't even look at him.
Yeah, she's like, he was there. He's one of them. And so like his buddy is the cop that's in the ambulance.
Knocks him out
because he's like, what did you say, bitch? He's like threatening to like punch her. He's like, I should fucking knock you out and stuff. Like the dubbing is so funny. Like Donnie Yen's voice in this especially I thought was funny because it just doesn't match him at all.
Right.
No, whoever did the dub. But he's like super pissed, which he should be, because she's like, no, I'm sure of it. He's one of them. And the guy's like, hey, now, like, take your time. Like, you want to be sure about this? And she's like, no, I'm positive. He's one of the criminals. And then, so this is where we get into the sort of comedic contrivance of this movie, which is that they're like an odd couple who get stuck together.
Yeah.
She thinks he's a criminal at first. He, is being driven crazy by her, because not only did he just kind of divorce him and his wife, now she's handcuffed to him and giving him a lot of grief.
Yeah. Well, so what happens is what's the main lawyer, like the top bad guy?
Well, we have Uncle Chu, who's kind of in charge of everything, but he's just a background character.
Yeah. David?
No, David is like the lawyer who's kind of on their side. And then there's Wise, played by Robin Shu. Wise Chow. He's the bad lawyer who's orchestrated all this stuff.
Wise. Okay, so
who, by the way, just want to quick say he's the guy who plays Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat live action movie from the 90s.
Oh, okay. So Wise, he says, okay, you need to go get the girl, because like she knows where the money is.
Right.
So at the hospital, because the buddy cop knocked out Donnie Yen. Is it Dragon Yo? What's his name in the movie? Yeah, Dragon Yo. Okay.
Yeah, Dragon.
He knocks him out, so they put him on the stretcher.
Right.
So they bring him in because these henchmen that are there to collect the girl accidentally collect him. Mm-hmm. And then they find out, oh, we got the wrong person. So they dump him outside the hospital. And then he kind of wakes up a little later
right.
to go to the hospital to see that female lawyer be picked up by somebody.
Yeah, she's getting abducted.
To bring her back to her house. And then he ends up knocking on the door and going in and being like, hey, what is this? You're like trying to frame me.
Right. And that's when they've found like this other woman murdered.
Yeah, this other
woman.
And
she picks up the knife and is like, oh no. And then the cops show up at that moment, like Cynthia Khan is like, oh, what the hell you're under arrest for suspicion of murder. And she's like, no, I just happened. So then they take off and they're like on the lam together.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the comedy setup.
Because there actually was an assassin there that was in a helmet. You don't know who it is.
Right. A motorcycle helmet shows up, takes some shots at them.
We find out who it is later.
Shoulder, right.
Which is a funny sequence later.
Yeah. Which comes back quite a bit later. And I was like, oh yeah, right. I forgot all about that motorcycle assassin. Now I got to say the comedy part doesn't really work great for me in this movie.
Not really.
It's kind of more irritating than it is funny.
Well,
and maybe it's because I had just watched the first movie and that has a different tone. Like, yes, they're both Hong Kong action movies. They're both about cops and criminals and whatever, all this money getting stolen and lawyers and whatever. But tone-wise, they're pretty different. Like the first one is more serious and this one is more like, let's get goofy with it.
I like it to some degree, but it kind of starts to affect the movie when there's too much of it.
Yeah, and there is a lot of it.
There's a lot of it.
Like the first part of it is really dragged down by it, I feel like.
I do kind of like the idea of when they're handcuffed and he's like, hauling her around, and then absolutely every single person they encounter knows Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And well, fights them.
Even the lawyer guy who is sent to find them that they fight off at first and they're running from him in those tunnels. And we had that funny sequence where she knocks him out. She's supposed to knock the lawyer out, David, but she knocks out the other guy with the plant pot. And she's got them on that cart and they start going downhill. And I mean, that was kind of fun. Some of that kind of, I guess they're trying to bring in some Jackie Chan flavor or something to it at that point.
And that's kind of what I got, is it's trying to be a little Jackie Chan, right?
Yeah. It's just kind of threw me a little bit because it's a different movie. It's the same director. It's the same, it's a sequel, of sorts to the first movie. So it's just, it threw me off a little bit.
So I do like in that sequence before they get on the cart, some guy comes up and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Leave her alone." Gets into a fight. Yeah. Then they leave him hanging on the railing over an overpass.
Over an overpass. She's like, "Wait, we should help him." And he's like, "Screw him."
Which is hilarious to me.
Also in the dub, there were some random fucks peppered in throughout this movie,
which I found so odd.
It was really weird. Like, it did not feel like they belonged in the movie.
No,
because these kind of movies, they never swear like that.
They don't swear like that.
But it was kind of funny when they did in this movie, because it was always like, "What?" She's like, at one point she says like, what did she tell him? She's like, "You can get fucked," or something like that. And I'm like, what? She would never say that.
She would never say that.
Just weird shit like that. But
after the cart sequence, that's when you get the bus sequence.
Oh yeah, so we go in the tunnels, but then up onto the bus when it's one of those like open roof buses, like tourist buses.
Yeah, double-decker buses.
Yeah, and there's a nice fight on the roof of that. That's pretty sweet. And they're hanging off the sides and falling off of it and all that stuff.
Well, and you had one of the henchmen get thrown off the bus onto a car and completely destroy
They're in traffic too.
Yeah, it's
and
awesome.
And again, Dan, like you're saying, everyone knows Kung Fu. David is a fucking American lawyer. I mean, yes, he's Asian, but he knows Kung Fu too. Like, he's pretty good.
But like, it's just in a weird way. Like, I love it because, I mean, it's a Hong Kong action movie.
That's the world of these movies.
That's just like, I don't know what kind, like, that just seems like a magical world to live in. Right? So
Kung Fu fight can break out at any moment.
So imagine, and it's kind of like a trope, or like they use it as like comedy relief. Like, if an American movie had like a bunch of Asian characters, they had them do Kung Fu or not be able to do Kung Fu, they'd be like, "What, you think we all know Kung Fu?" And it's like, based on these movies, yes.
This is my only knowledge that I have to go on.
Right? It's just like common thing. Like, in school, that's what you learn. You learn Kung Fu.
And of course the bad guy, Wise Chow, is also a lawyer, and he's also like a fucking badass.
I know.
Right? So, I mean, it wouldn't be funny if he wasn't. So, you got to have it. But so David, we learn he's not really a bad guy. He's a criminal, but he's like, I'm not going to kill you guys. I just want the money. Like, I just want to know where the money is.
Well, he's like, we don't do anything illegal. Like, technically,
technically this is legal.
This is all legal, right? And so, that's how he justifies it, I guess. But.
I guess so.
But yeah, I mean, so after the bus, like, what do you get?
Well, we get more stuff with Wise telling David, "Oh, you have to find them now. We can't like let them go. We need to know where that money is." There's a scenes where he gets a hold of them, he captures them, and he's like torturing Dragon. He's got him like tied to an exercise bike, and they're forcing her to like pedal it so that it's like rubbing his stomach.
Oh yeah. And he's like, "This is like a massage."
And they just keep drilling them like, "Where's the money? Where's the money?" And they're like, "We don't know like where the money is." And they don't, right? Like, they never saw what happened to it. Their relationships stuff continues, but then of course, the inevitable, he starts falling for her, he starts liking her, even though she's just so fucking annoying in this movie.
Yeah, but so does the American
and
lawyer.
So does the American guy, so there's a bit of that love triangle kind of thing. There's a stupid scene where the lawyer, David, and her end up at a hotel room together. She was unconscious and she wakes up naked in bed. He's like, has undressed. Why would you undress somebody to put them in the bed?
Okay, that whole sequence, I could definitely do it.
Oh my God. And he comes out in the towel and then it falls off and she sees and stuff. And she's like, "I didn't see." And he's like, "Oh, well, here." She's like, "No." It's just this weird, they're just trying to this like awkward comedy.
Well, and there's
romance.
this whole insinuation, even with Dragon, where it's like, "Oh, well, did you guys sleep together?"
Yeah, he wants to know, "Did you fuck?"
And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to tell you. Why don't you ask her?"
Yeah, he keeps telling him, ask her.
But then they get this. So they're going to team up. The three of them are teaming up, and they're going to find the money. And then they're like, "Oh, I know where the money is."
Yeah, she figures it out. But in between, of course, again, much like the first movie, there's a bunch of action stuff in this movie peppered throughout, chases and fights. There's a really cool moment where Donnie Yen is fighting some guys in an alley that are chasing him, and he does like a double jump kick, you know, the classic like jump up, kick one dude with one foot and spin and kick the other dude with the other foot kind of thing. That's always fun to see. Actually, he does a triple one later in the movie too. He hides in that cabbage barrel of water.
Oh, I know.
And he just stinks. The cab won't give him a ride.
Yeah. We do get that part where it's the throwback to the motorcycle helmet where the detective pieces it together.
The secretary of the lawyer, she sees the wound on the shoulder.
And so the detective goes to her house and
confronts her.
You have like a little bit of a fight in there.
A fight there. A table toss in that scene.
A table toss. You get the stovetop lights on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
kind of a
fun.
It's kind of the only thing Cynthia Khan really gets to do in this movie.
Yeah,
I guess she didn't really break out until later, but so this is maybe one of her earlier roles. But yeah, there's just tons of that good action stuff in here. This one, just for me, is dragged down a little bit by all this comedy stuff, which there's a lot of it.
Yeah, all that stuff in the middle, and then you get this whole, so after they find the money, they're like celebrating.
Right. It's in the elevator shaft, they figure out. Now, when they go in to get that money out of the elevator, I was like, oh, there's going to be an awesome fight in the elevator shaft where they're like having to move on the elevator and jump off and hang on to this, you know. I thought that's what we were going to get there.
Nope. Not at all.
They just get the money.
Yeah. So then they get the money and then they have a celebration.
Right, they get fucking plastered.
Yeah, Donnie Yen gets wasted.
He's so drunk.
And then you have the American lawyer. He goes back to Uncle. What's his name?
He's gonna go turn in Wise Chow to Uncle Chu or whatever his name is. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Look, see, I got the money, and this is what happened. And Uncle, like, you need to trust me." And of course, he turns the chair around. It's like, he's kind of dead.
He's fucking dead, bud.
So then you get that's when you get Donnie Yen comes back to rescue him in there. It lights the place on fire. Yeah,
that part was kind of weird to me. I thought like, David's gonna get killed and then they'll have to show up later and attack the guy. But no, he just shows up. They just show up right then, and they're like, they've got all this. Yeah, they just start throwing fucking fire bombs around the place and lighting shit on fire.
I mean, I do like how David and Wise are fighting.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard hitting fight.
And then the Americans are like, "Oh, sweet fight, let's just watch."
And it's the same black guy from the first movie.
Yeah, which I love.
I forgot. There's also that white guy who likes playing with the katana sword throughout the movie. Is there too? The two henchmen.
So they have a pretty decent fight.
Yeah, good fight. Although Robin Shu's character Wise is getting the upper hand. He's like a real badass. He's beating the shit out of David. And
then Donnie Yen just shows up, starting throwing Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, just lighting everything on fire. Now, remind me how things play out with David here. Does he live or die?
He lives. So they rescue him, and then they come up with this plan where they go to where there's some deal.
Yeah, there's still another deal going down.
And then they show up in this
that's
van,
right. They pop out of the top.
And
holy shit, are they unloading those handguns at a rate of fire that I'm not even sure is possible without jamming those
I know.
It looks awesome, though.
It looks awesome.
They just blow those guys away. And this is the first time we really get squibs in this movie. It's like at the end, like the last real big set piece of the movie.
And so then you get the fight with the black guy.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen fights him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what happens to David and...
I'm trying to remember there because for some reason I thought David got killed, and I don't know why I have that in my head. But because Donnie Yen fights also the guy with the sword. He ends up pulling out the sword.
Yeah, but what happens to Wei Chow?
Well, he's at the end. It ends up being Dragon and her taking him on, and she's like cracking him over the head with a pipe and stuff. But only after he's fought the guy with the katana sword. They have a pretty sweet sword fight where they're like slicing and dicing each other.
Yes. So they have an awesome sword fight, which is in like a video game.
Yeah, total video game
stage
stage with the fence in the background and everything.
and a fan going.
The way that
like,
it's all set up, like it looks like that, even though this is like pre-Street Fighter or any of that stuff.
Yeah, it just looks hilarious.
Mortal Kombat, which of course, like I said, he goes on to be the bad guy from this, goes on to be Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat movies, as well as Chris Farley's buddy in Beverly Hills Ninja.
Oh,
if you
okay.
remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's so funny because in this he's like super evil,
Right.
And then he's like a total baby face in those movies. But yeah, so I don't remember how we get from like how each of these play out exactly. How does this sword fight end? Okay, with the black guy, he kicks him onto like a spiked piece of wood that's sticking up out of the ground.
Yeah.
They have a good fight. Then there's the sword fight's awesome. Can't remember how he wins that exactly though.
I think he just like stabs him in the chest.
Well, they had both at one point like stabbed each other, like him in the shoulder and him like in the stomach, and then he kind of like maybe spins out of that and chops him or something. I can't remember exactly.
I can't remember.
Sorry, guys. It's two back-to-back Hong Kong action films. Watched them both back. I watched them both back to back, and now talking about them back to back. But anyway, whichever the case, he comes out victorious.
Yeah.
But I think doesn't David get like doesn't he kill David in that scene? He's like smashing him on the ground over and over and over and over, and I think he's supposed to be dead.
He does die because I think it's
That's right, he dies because he tells them like, oh, he has like a kind of farewell speech to them or whatever before he dies.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like they're holding him.
Right. And he's like, oh, let's start a business together, he says, or something like that.
Let's start a joint venture together.
He does. He says that. He pitches that to her. Like, we're both lawyers. Let's start a new, let's hang out our shingles together.
It's so weird.
It's like, that's his death speech because he's a lawyer, so that's what he would want to talk about before he dies, I guess.
Let's go to the business factory and start a business.
The final fight's a little bit weird because like Dragon is fighting him, and of course the other guy is still more of a badass, so he's kind of winning. But she like jumps off the top of that crate and like clobbers him over the head with a big steel pipe, and that kills him. And that's kind of like a bit of an anticlimactic end to the fight.
Yeah.
He's just dead. Like, that's it. He doesn't pop up again or anything.
That actually reminds me of, so like earlier in the movie when they're trying to escape and they're handcuffed together, they jump off of a second story balcony at one point. And the way that they land, probably because they're handcuffed together, is Donnie Yen lands like somewhat normal. Yeah. Like he still falls to the ground, but her character like smacks her face right into her knees. Oof. Like, and I rewound to see if it was a stuntman or not. It was a female. Okay. So, yeah. But it for sure, that would have knocked them out.
There's a moment too in the movie where she's getting dragged by a bad guy, and then she kind of like gets out of his grip and stumbles forward and like goes face first into a lamp post.
Right.
Looks pretty brutal.
Yeah. The other thing in that sword fight at the end, the American villain, he uses his ponytail to whip him in the eyes.
Him in the eyes. It's like a Van Damme thing or something.
Oh, it's so awesome.
And he's like, oh, like
I can't see.
Oh. Like that would be such a devastating blow to take to the face. I mean, it might disorient you for a second, but it's like, yeah, it's like it really hurts him or something.
Yeah,
so good. But yeah, so this one is definitely fun, definitely worth watching. Like if you love Hong Kong action movies, you should definitely seek it out.
Yeah.
Did I like it as much as the first movie? I personally didn't like it quite as much, which is funny because you had pitched we're going to watch Tiger Cage 2.
Yeah.
And you said to me, are you gonna watch Tiger Cage 1? And I was like, yeah, I have them both, so I'm gonna watch both of them. And you're like, okay, well, let me watch it too then, because I don't want this to be another yes, madam.
Yeah, exactly.
Situation where
it totally would have been.
And it would have been. It absolutely would have been. Yeah.
Well, the only reason why I picked Tiger Cage 2 is because I was looking at a list of like best Hong Kong action movies, and like this was higher up than Tiger Cage
and
1.
I think even on IMDb it had a slightly higher score.
So I'm not sure why, but
well, and the other thing is if I had watched that movie, the first one, and then like a week had gone by and I watched this one, I might not have been as, not that I'm being hard on this movie because I liked it, but I might have appreciated the comedy a little bit more. I just wasn't like in the headspace for it. I wasn't ready for it.
And maybe it's just because Donnie Yen is more in the second one than in the
that's
first
true.
one.
And he's very popular, right? So,
and
he does get to do awesome shit. And like in that final fight, there's the moment where he jumps up, he kicks the two henchmen, one leg, and then other leg back to the main guy in the face. So he kicks all three of them in the one jump.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
That's pretty sweet.
There's plenty of great action stuff in these movies. So like, even if the comedy stuff isn't your thing, I still think Tiger Cage 2 is definitely worth checking out.
Oh yeah. I think the action sequences alone are worth watching. And yeah, I mean, some of the dubbing's not great and the comedy stuff isn't really working that well, but still,
like you said, I think if they went a little more light-handed with it, like it's pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of it, and you kind of get it in short order when he's just like, when they're eating the noodles.
Oh, yeah.
And she like, it's hot, and she spits the noodles all over his face, and like all this. But you're getting like one thing after another of that stuff, and it's like, okay, let's chill out a little bit on this.
Well, it's because like Donnie Yen, I don't think he's known for his comedy movies.
No, not really. Like he's not a Jackie Chan kind of guy. Not that I'm not saying he's never done anything comedic, but I think people don't think of him that way. They think of him as a more serious martial arts action guy.
All right. Well, why don't we get to the ratings? Why don't we start with Tiger Cage 1?
Yeah, let's.
Dustin, what do you got?
Well, for plot, I had 5. Nothing wrong with the plot, but it's not particularly interesting. It's a very standard boilerplate kind of crime plot that we've seen a lot. Action, I had 9. It's fucking great. Pacing, I had it an 8. Thought it was pretty well paced, the first one especially. Quotes and tropes, I threw a 6, mostly for tropes more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And then overall reaction was 8, so my score ends up as a 7.2.
And I'm almost identical to yours. The only difference I have is pacing. I have it a 7 instead of an 8. So that gives me an overall score of 7, which combined is overall score of 7.1.
Nice.
So do we want to see where this ends up first?
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so
let's do it.
7.1. So that is a tie at 56 with Shogun Assassin, Kung Fu Hustle, The Driver, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Fist of Legend, and Snowpiercer.
Damn. Speaking of Fist of Legend, that's choreographed by Yuan Wu Ping as well.
Oh, okay.
And Snowpiercer. Okay, so back to the top of the list again. There, the first couple.
So we got Shogun Assassin,
Yeah.
Kung Fu Hustle, The Driver,
The Driver. Man, that's a good movie.
Die Hard with a Vengeance, Fist of Legend, and Snowpiercer.
Man, that's actually really tough for me. My initial instinct was to say before Die Hard with a Vengeance, but I got a lot of love for Die Hard with a Vengeance too. I don't know. What do you think? What are you thinking?
I'm going to put it behind Kung Fu Hustle. That's where I would put it. So in front of The Driver.
Oh, in front of The Driver even. Mm-hmm. That was such different movies. I really liked The Driver a lot, especially the second time I saw it, which is when we reviewed it.
I think I'm going to have to watch it again, but like I don't think I like it as much as you would like it.
It's a lot of like style and
it's stylish.
But, obviously the inspiration for Drive in a big way.
But it's funny that we're kind of getting these kung fu.
Couple of these kung fu ones close together here. I also really love Fist of Legend. It's actually one of my favorite martial arts movies ever. So for me, I would put it after Fist of Legend before Snowpiercer. So that's kind of, where does that?
So that's where you want to put it? Okay, so then that means we have to decide, is it going to go ahead of Die Hard with a Vengeance or behind Die Hard with a Vengeance?
I'd say let's flip a coin, but who has a coin on them these days?
I mean, I'm okay either way. Like, we can go your way, so it would go ahead
Hold on.
of Fist
Hold
of
on.
Legend.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this totally fair. I got a wheel picker thing on my.
Actually, you know what? Let me see. Yeah. So because if we split the difference, it's tied exactly with Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Okay, so I'll put it in here. Before or after? I'm gonna put it into a wheel spinner app. We're gonna go right here. Here we go. Ready? Spin, baby.
It's rigged.
It's going. It's spinning.
It's spinning.
What's it going to be? Is it going to be before Die Hard with a Vengeance or after? It's going to be before Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Right. And that's why people listen, to put it up to
They
chance.
want to know what chance will decide. Well, it's just too hard to decide, sometimes. But
I know.
And also, does it really fucking matter? No.
No, it doesn't. Especially
Either way, you should watch this fucking movie because it's a hell of a good time.
All right, so then that makes it our new number 59.
Nice, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty high.
It is. Okay, so Tiger Cage 2, we ready?
Yep.
All right, so plot, again, I kept it at a 5. This one has a more interesting plot than the first movie, but, all that comedic stuff kind of drags it down a bit for me, so it's still at a 5. Action's an 8, just one notch below the first movie. I don't know if that's fair or not, because the action in this is pretty awesome too, but I don't think anything lived up to that opening set piece of the first movie for me. 8's still nice and high. I got 8 at a pacing, 5 for quotes and tropes, and a 7 score, or 7 reaction, so my score is a 6.6.
And I got the same score, except for my ratings are a little bit different. So I got plot 5, action kills 9, same as the first one. They're just different. Obviously, the first one had like larger set pieces.
More gunplay, yeah.
Yeah. So pacing 6, quotes and tropes 6, reaction 7, so 6.6. So we got an overall score of 6.6, which means
it's going to be a big old tie, isn't it?
We got a tie at 92 with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Project Wolf Hunting, and Deliver Us from Evil, and The Man from Nowhere.
Whoa, okay. So more Asian cinema in here, but this is Korean. Those are 2 Korean movies.
Yeah.
That we're going up against here. Well, I liked Deliver Us from Evil and Man from Nowhere, but both were a little more story heavy than action heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably put this before both of those. What were the other ones at the top again?
So Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom. Yeah, I can't put this ahead of Temple of Doom.
Project Wolf Hunting.
Project Wolf Hunting, pretty fun, super gory.
That's the gory on a ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the monster guy.
Yeah.
I'd probably put this after that, before
Okay.
the other ones, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of like...
Those Korean movies were really good, as I recall.
Yeah, they're good.
Better plots than either of these movies.
Definitely.
Good action, but it was more sporadic, I feel like, in both of those films.
Okay, so in between Project Wolf Hunting and Deliver Us from Evil, so that's new number 94.
That was 3 Korean movies in a row. Project
three.
Wolf Hunting, Deliver Us from Evil, and Man from Nowhere were all Korean films.
Yeah. We tend to do this
Somehow?
Bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Well, we got a Hong Kong movie interjecting in between them, so there you go.
So fuck you. All right. Well,
New number what?
all right. So new number 94.
94. Okay. Still in the top 100. How do you like that, Mapples?
Yeah. So that's 94 out of our list is now at 245.
Ooh, we're getting close to the 250.
250.
Wow.
Getting up there.
Well, we got a couple special things coming up then. 300th episode, 250th action film on the list.
Yeah.
So might have to think of some fun stuff to do.
I'll let you think of it because I can't think of anything.
Okay.
I'm not a fun guy.
That's bullshit.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. And you can find us on Instagram at Action Action Podcast. Our list lives on Letterboxd at Action Action. And you can also find us on Patreon on Action Action Podcast. And yeah, you can become a Patreon follower, you can get access to over 200 episodes that are only available on Patreon. Our back catalog, our first 200 episodes. And, if you join at the top tier, you can make us pick a movie. And, if
Just Dead Red Dawn for Ryan.
Yeah.
I got to figure out who's our next Patreon. We got to figure out what the next one will be.
Yeah, definitely. But appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you next week.
He's got scallions.